Hi everybody, it's Ellen Jaffe Jones, and I know everybody's running around crazy doing all the last minute holiday shopping, but I thought I'd try and catch you anyway because it's been a busy time for runners as well, with a lot of Jingle Bell 5K races. I did one of those Friday night, and it was supposed to be one of the largest races in our area, but the weather was just garbage, and I have been asked now to come to races to try and provide some vegan food, because post-race food, if you have ever been to a 5K race, usually is like charred animal remains, which is why I became the main sponsor of the Boo Run locally about 2 months ago, just so that once in my life I could cross a finish line without having to smell dead animals. So we had all vegan food. I became their primary sponsor in order to do that. So I was asked to go ahead and try and bring some food to this race, and the weather was terrible in Florida. By our standards, it was in the 50s and 30 mile an hour winds, which settled down to about 20 by the time of race time, maybe a little less than that. But the streets were still wet, and I try and, be careful as I do these races, especially at my age, 66. But I managed to get first place, and so this was the 150th time in my age group doing so at a 5K or longer race. I actually placed once at a half marathon. So the reason I wanted to mention this is because not long after the start, this race was a corralled race, and that's unfortunately the animal abuse name they use for it. But the first segment was 30 minutes if you could do a 5K in less than 30 minutes. And it was self-seating. So when you filled out your application form, you had to put that on there. And I was modest at the time. I said, okay, I'll go in the second group. But I should have gone in the first, because actually my 5K times now are 29 minutes. Recently, since I lost about 10 pounds, and it really has helped my time. Anyway, we started off, and within the first 5 minutes or so, I ran into this group that shouldn't have been in the first corral. And there was three of these women, and they were just talking. They were sort of running, but not very fast. And on the right side of them was the curb, so you couldn't really jump up there and go around them. And to the left was a very dense crowd as well. So I do what I sometimes do when I am speeding up. I put my palms together, my hands together. And before I did this, I said, "Coming through." And, it was like they didn't hear me. And it wasn't like they had earbuds in or anything like that, because they were all talking and interacting, and they were very much abreast, three abreast. So you couldn't even just run through them. So I finally then put my hands together and touched two that I thought I was going to go through, and they still didn't move. But I kept running, and I tripped on the back of somebody's heel. And they kept going, and I was down on the ground, total face plant. I thought my hands actually hurt the worst. Those were really, I kept telling myself the rest of the race, don't look at your hands, because I felt like blood was gushing from them. And then my knee was really hurt too. And we'll try and get it up here high enough so you can see it. It's mainly just bruised and swollen, and I'm telling you, there was blood gushing out of this. But the worst, we won't get too gory here, but this was my elbow, and I've got Band-Aids covering it. But here's the thing about a vegan diet. A healthy, whole foods, plant-based vegan diet is that the recovery is amazing. And I've been on a number of sports panels throughout the country as I speak at VegFest, and this is the number one thing we all have in common, is that the recovery is very fast and easy. And I was in a lot of pain less than 48 hours ago, and I tried to run a little bit earlier today because I'm supposed to meet a friend to run tomorrow, and I was just trying out the running legs here, and I didn't feel all that bad. I feel the pain still with the bruising that's in my knee, but that's really about it. And I'm just astounded every time I have an injury like this, which isn't that often, but it astounds me how quick the recovery is. But I wanted to do this video because a lot of people say, oh, vegans are weak, or you can't run or race on a vegan diet. And we totally can. And I always say I have a hashtag, running is my activism, because we certainly can. And we get plenty of protein. By the way, a recent article here in the Lakewood Ranch, Sarasota, Bradenton area featured me and winning my senior games, first in state in 6 different track events. This was in the sports section of the Lakewood, well, they call it the East County Observer here. And so they used this picture. We went out to my favorite running place, and you notice the shirt that I'm wearing there, or the shirt that I'm not wearing, because if any of you know me, when I race and run, I'm always wearing my Eat Vegan on $4 a day shirt. And so this was the picture they took with me. They asked if I would put the medals on, so those conveniently covered up the shirt. And then when we went out to the forest where I do my running, they made me take off the shirt. So, you know, I get it. I was a TV reporter for 18 years. You know, you don't want to be too blatant with your message. But on the other hand, yes, we do need to be blatant with our message, because the planet doesn't have time for us to get over this or to think about it much more than we need to be, because a plant-based diet is so much better for the planet. According to the United Nations, you can Google that. There's tons and tons of research about that. So anyway, I thought I would also just wear the shirt for this video. And once again, we are 6 minutes into this and no watchers on YouTube. I just did a live on Facebook, and we had far more viewers, which supports the claim that my friend Jane Velez Mitchell, who was a speaker at the New Orleans Veg Fest a couple of years ago when I was there as well, she was very much advocating getting off of YouTube and just doing Facebook Lives. But every once in a while, as I like to say, I feed the beast, and I'm here. And if you have any questions, just put them down below. I will try and answer them or direct you as best I can. So I'll be speaking at the Gainesville Veg Fest coming up in a few weeks, Gainesville, Florida, if you happen to be there. I think I'm doing a cooking demo. And a lot of races now. We're in peak racing season. The Sarasota Half Marathon, Music Half Marathon is also coming up around the same time. So yeah, all right, everybody. Well, if anybody watches this on the replay, I think that's pretty much it. Keep running, find your activism, whatever it is. Believe me, 15 years ago, if you'd said I'd be placing in running races, I would have said you were nuts. But a vegan diet accomplishes miracles. And I just can't sing the praises enough. All right, everybody, gotta run. If I can figure out how to stop it, let's try that. All right, yes, we do want to.